Hello, Joel.
Hey there, Andrew.
Hi, Joe.
What's up, boys?
It's the Medellin podcast. What episode are we on today, Joel?
We're on episode number 39. 40 minus 1, 39, 39. There we
What
go.
are you drinking?
Well, you know, today I'm drinking a Medellin podcast beer, a red ale. It's 8% strong like me.
8% strong?
Like me. All right. What are you drinking in there? You boys have a little bit of hunting lodge. What's going on in there?
We got a little Chivas Regal.
Little Chivas Regal.
To wash it down, we got Medellin Podcast Brew.
This is the first time on the show, Andrew, that we've ever had two people whose name is sort of like Joe. I had an extra letter on mine, so I'm a little bit better. And two people who are follically challenged. Here, follically challenged. Joe showed them just to be proud. Bald and proud. That's what we are, Andrew. No, you got that. You got that full head of hair.
I got that Chicano full head of hair. All right, guys, thank you for joining us. We are live on Facebook on the Medellin podcast, episode 38, talking about charity, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Woo, motherfucker!
Taught him everything he knows.
Hi, guys. How are you? This is Andrew Messia.
This is Joel Duncan.
And I'm Joe Volgey.
Today on the Medellin podcast, episode 39,
39.
we are all the way live on Facebook, but we are recording it. So if you didn't catch it live, we will be posting it on YouTube so that you could catch it, and on Spotify and anywhere you listen to your
why,
podcast.
Andrew? Because we're back.
We're back
and we black. I'm black. Well, we're back and we black. We're in the building. You know, we gotta kick it off. We're gonna dip into some of that shit a little later, but don't worry about that. We're back and we black.
So wait,
in the house.
Today, by the way, we are sponsored by our own beer.
Woo!
Medellin
Cheers.
podcast.
Cheers to the Medellin
Cheers,
Podcast.
guys. Cheers.
Thank you guys for having me. Appreciate that.
So today is a very cool podcast because today, what's the date today? Today is June 6th.
I have no. I cannot last remember when I knew what the date was.
Yeah.
You remember
so-
the date?
That was 87 quarantine days ago.
Yeah.
Right. But the cool thing about it is that today was Saturday, and we went and fed and gave groceries to 140 different families in Medellin that are struggling. They're in one of the most affected areas of Medellin, not only because of COVID, just because of the poverty levels. So obviously right now we're in trying times and we help them. And today we're going to interview one of our longtime friends that has been, for a long time, been donating his time, his money, his efforts to orphanages here in Medellin and the needy. So I'm really happy to have him on. Joel?
Well, I'm happy to have him on too. I mean, I was thinking about something as I was peeing, because that's usually where all the brilliant ideas come to me. I am a strong believer as bad substances leave you, great ideas come in, just in case you guys didn't know. And I was peeing and I thought, fuck, when did I meet Joe? Where did I meet Joe? And the only thing other than being a big mother, shut your mouth, is the fact that for as long as I've known Joe, it's like Joe is a synonym for some sort of giving or charity or working on something.
Wow.
And actually, no, but seriously, when I came to think about it, I'm like, the first time I met you had to do something with giving or creating or doing something. And I actually only really realized what you did outside of charity like a few days ago, which we'll talk about. And so I think in this time of charity, which both Andrew and I think I speak equally on that, is that we believe that at this particular time is a time for charity. Google it, dictionary.com, what the word means in whatever format it is. And so there's no better, like a timely moment, I think, to have you on the show, man. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, today, guys, was amazing, and today really happened, at least for me, because of the photos that you took. You went out with Yo Soñé en Sueño, whether it was last week or the week before. And when you took some pictures, I'm flipping through Facebook, and I'm a huge fan of your photography. And I'm like, what? Oh my God. And I saw the little girl whose house we went to today, and I looked, and I have some experience here, with some other homes, and I'm looking at the roof, and I'm like, oh my God, and next thing you know, I'm in bed, and it's 1 a.m, and I'm looking at the pictures, and it's 2 a.m, and it's 3 a.m, and I finally passed out, and I woke up, and I'm like, all right. That's when I started messaging. We're in part of a Facebook group, and I'm like, here's all these different people helping in different ways. I'm like, and I'm a marketing and branding guy. I'm like, what if we could put together one central location to get donations in? I tried to make that work. And, it's just too many people doing different things. But today, every one of those people came together, for a common goal to help feed the people in Medellin. And
we're going to jump back. We're going to jump back into that in a great intro. Like, that's our experience today. We're going to get way deeper, I think, into our experience today and into our experience. Just call it during COVID here. But one of the things before we jump ahead, man, where are you from? Like, why did you come?
What's your name? Where are you from?
Let's do this.
So my name is Joe Volgey. I came here about 4.5 years ago. I work back home in the United States. I spent the last 16 years in the fitness industry, working in marketing and branding and, building some big brands. And there was the Fitness Expo. So we came out here with some friends and met up with someone that Max Solorzano. And, during my couple days here, I think it was 5 days, I ended up staying for a couple more because I was just like really taking in the city. And Max pulled me aside one day and goes, yo, man, come back and I'll show you a whole different way to live. And I was like, wow. And he just had good energy. We kind of hit it off like brothers from the get-go. And I'm like, okay. Next thing you know, I go home. I'm home for like 2 or 3 weeks. And I'm like, all right, bro, you think you can find me an apartment? I don't want to be in a hotel. And at the last minute, he's like, a room opened up in my apartment. Well, 5 weeks of absorbing everything I could about Medellin, as fast as possible. That's how I ended up here and started helping on the last day of my second trip. I'm like, all right, what do I want to do here? It's my last day. I've been here for 5 weeks. This is the longest I've ever been away in my life. And Max said something about an orphanage. Okay, sounds like a good idea. Off we go. So we're sitting in the orphanage, and they're playing this video, and I'm watching this kid in the corner. And in the video is this kid, and Max, asked him, why are we smiling? And he said, I'm not always, necessarily smiling, but, I, value my life and, the opportunity that I have here. And it ends up the kid's father murdered his mother in front of the kid. And when the kid's father saw that his son was watching, he took his own life.
Wow.
And I'm watching the video, and I'm watching in the corner, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, that's the kid in the corner. I'm like, so now I'm in,
you're watching the video, hearing the story, and there's that kid
in the orphanage, and the kid is in the corner, almost like they planted him there, but I'm like, oh my God, now I'm in tears, and I'm like, holy smokes. I'm like, this is a lot to handle. And they're like, that here he is in the corner. And he was on the street for about a year after that before he came across the foundation. Yeah. And now, God bless, the kid is living in Europe. He has a job as a chef. Amazing. He has a new baby. And if it wasn't for that organization and the love that Anith Diaz and Celia Contreras offer, a large group of children in Barrio, Boston, it wouldn't be possible for him. So I was really touched by that moment. And I sat there, and, the ladies took me around the orphanage, and kind of introduced me to the kids. I come back, and I'm sitting in the office, and I look at them, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I go, but I'm going to come back here. I go, and I'm going to do something to help, So
wait, just stick a pin in that for a second. Before that, prior to that, experience, right? Again, you're the person that introduced you, obviously, to that is Max. Last day of a 5-week, him showing you, which I want to talk about too, about the different, what he meant by the different Medellin. But and that's after. Is that the first time you did any sort of charity work, or is that your background, or what is that the start?
Again, I've worked in different types of events and sports nutrition and hosted, and I just sat there, and I don't have any children, and I was compelled by, oh my God, this is something I've never experienced in my life. America is certainly way different than life here in Medellin. And I just really felt compelled to help. And it was the first time, certainly I've given in America to charity. And when you give in America, you have no idea where the money goes. But after meeting these women, I knew that giving here, I'd be able to really see where the money went and be able to see it in action, as opposed to, sending it to, and I'll, won't use any charities' names, but, you send it and the, president's driving a Mercedes, from the funds that are raised and stuff like that. I just wasn't down with that. So, here was an opportunity to see my money in action.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that a lot of people, whether they're here in Colombia or in the United States, they worry, like, okay, if I'm going to donate money to a certain organization, is my money going to be used towards helping the kids or the family or the people in need? But what's the name of the charity, the orphanage?
The orphanage runs under Jacum, Medellin. And again, they're a Christian organization. There's a lot more chapters. They're in the United States as well. And they help run the organization in Barrio, Boston, which is 3 floors. There's up to 25 boys and 25 girls. They keep them on separate floors. I was just in there the other day. They had 42 children and 16 volunteers. And, I came in and I happened to bring the kids pizza from money that we raised from Yo Soñé and Sueño. And, when I was there, I'm like, to me, it's just pizza, man.
Yeah.
It's like, to them, it was like, whoa, pizza,
Best
you know
dinner
what I
of the
mean?
decade.
And I'm like, they're like, oh, you're a hero and this and that. And I was like, please don't use that word with me, I was like, I understand what you're getting at. I'm like, but the heroes in here are the volunteers that sleep
Every
here
day.
during COVID and really make this place run. And, God bless her. I really hit it off with the woman by the name of Celia. And right now I can tell you she's still in La Guajira, where, people are staying in their house and their home and they're scared and they're social distancing and trying to follow all the government's protocols and stuff like that. This woman went to La Guajira, which, for those of you who don't know, is up on the coast and is pretty indigenous. They take a walk there for 2 or 3 hours just to be able to get water. And she's been there for over 2 months. And, helping feed, and she wants to build, I want to say, a cafeteria, for lack of a better term, because, again, there's no running water there. There's no toiletry. It's just, I want to say where we were today is one thing, and La Guajira is a whole other thing.
Nother ball game, right?
She's kind of become like an older sister to me. So anytime she needs something, I try to help her out.
Yeah, so the name of the charity or the name of the orphanage is Jacum, and then we actually work together now, raising funds and feeding needy families and even the kids now to do another organization that our buddy put together, which is called Yo Soñé un Sueño. And I think that it's very important for people to know about the names so that when you see them on our Facebook feeds, on our Instagram, either through the Medellin podcast or personally, that you recognize them. And if you do want to share it or you want to donate, you have the possibility of doing so. Now,
by the way, what does that mean, their charity? We talked about this the other day.
Yeah, so...
Interestingly enough, and that...
Well, go ahead.
No, but it just interestingly enough, it's timely how, everything seems to just... blue pill, red pill, the matrix, the things just falling into everything just being
happens
connected.
For a reason.
And I thought about that actually the day when you told me, literally while I was peeing, because that's usually where the good ideas
He's
come
always
in.
peeing.
I'm always peeing. I've got a peeing problem. So as I was peeing, I was like, wait, yo soñé un sueño. I dreamt a dream. I'm like, I dreamt a dream. That's sort of weird. And then I thought about it. I'm like, wait, I had a dream.
Right.
Like I had a dream. And I'm not going further into that, but I had a dream is actually the name of the charity that we happen to be
pretty timely.
to be supporting.
Yeah, pretty timely.
Pretty timely.
Right.
Timely.
And this charity or this organization that was put together by our friend is basically him doing this stuff himself as a individual. So there is no what they call ONG or nonprofit organization entity formed yet. So that's one of the things that we were talking about yesterday with our accountant on how we can legalize this so that we can, because we don't want to receive donations to our personal bank accounts. And I know that Julian from Yo Soñé Un Sueño, he doesn't want to have an influx of cash because taxes here can be, well, just like anywhere, most of the world could be a motherfucker. And so we want to make sure that we're protecting ourselves from that. And also that people know that they can write it off. Let's say if like a big company wants to write a big check, they can write it off as a charity expense or a charity donation. So we are going to get that set up. This is not, in my opinion, for us, at least I could speak for myself and probably for Joel on this and for the whole Red Door and Medellin podcast team, is that for us, this is not something that is like a temporary fix. Yeah. We don't want to just help people during the time of COVID, but we want it to be ongoing because even before, you were already helping people in need.
Right.
Yeah, he was actually, that's the truth. And to be quite honest, because somebody asked me about that again today, and I thought, like, when I first came to Medellin, I used to go to Ángeles de Medellin, and to a lot of other different charities, and I did a lot of that work. And then you get caught up with the busy work of, I'm living in the city. Right. So these people, I know they're in need, but right now I got to get myself around influencers, movers and shakers. I got to make money. And you get really caught up with the money bit, and not the money, but yourself, right? You have to survive first. And honestly, I had to survive first. And I think, like, we talk about timely things. I think that the COVID, and I was talking to a friend yesterday, and I was telling her that this, Andrew and I were supposed to go traveling and make our business more virtual and see different parts of the world. And now here we are, we're stuck during the lockdown, and we're doing the charity stuff. But it happened for a reason at a certain time. I think that we would have just probably left, gone to Portugal, gone to whatever the world would have continued like normally. And those people over there would have still been living the same lives, maybe a little less stressful than they're living now. And I personally would never have jumped back into photographing that stuff. And literally through that little hole that I'm looking at, it's a different experience for me because I'm looking directly at a face or something, and I'm like, holy shit, I'm about to press this button. What's the story here, Right. And had life gone on without the COVID, regardless of if it's real, not real, whatever people want to say, COVID honestly has put us in a position right now where our eyes are being opened. Like our eyes are being, this would not have been a topic, call it 15 episodes ago. It wouldn't have even been a consideration. Right. Here we are. And instead of just getting fucked up, which I would still like to get fucked up at some point, we're taking the conversation somewhere else, and we're looking at people, and it's become bigger than us. That's how I feel. I don't know what you feel about how this is shaping. And actually, the question I was going to ask to you is,
go ahead.
How has COVID changed what Medellin is or means to you, and how is that going to influence your relationship with Medellin moving forward?
I came here for 2 or 3 weeks, and I have, in the 4.5 years I've been coming here, I have never, ever left on the return flight that I booked. Yeah. My sister busts my balls all the time. She's like, why don't you just book a one-way ticket? She's like, because
save some money.
You're going to change and pay a fee. But God bless, I know a lot of people bitch about Spirit. Spirit lets you change it once for free.
Nice.
So I was supposed to be here for 2 or 3 weeks. Again, I came for Expo Fitness, which seems like a lifetime ago now. And, next thing you know, I'm like, okay, I'll stay longer because I love it. The weather, there's not a whole lot of drawbacks here. And next thing you know, the quarantine settles in. And I'm like, okay.
Yes.
I could be quarantined at home with my buddy, Carmen, I love you, bro. Yeah. But I'm like, I can be stuck here in Medellin. I'm like, where? And I don't want to use the word stuck. I'm like, I'm going to stay here in Medellin. And here we are nearly 3.5 months later, and I haven't gone home yet, but I'm supposed to go home next Sunday.
But Spirit Airlines give you one free change.
And I got to
already changed it.
I already changed. Well, listen, I've changed it like 6 times. But, I'm supposed to go home next Sunday, and I have to be honest with you guys. Back to your question, after today and what I saw and what I experienced, I was just like, man, I'll be home and I'll be watching, Facebook and pictures or, the group that we're in on WhatsApp or whatever it is. And I'm going to be like, fuck me. I'm in New Jersey. There's the beach. I don't want to go there because God knows what's in the water or whatever. And instead, I'd rather be where we were today with zero social distancing in the middle of a barrio where there was some people that were really desperate, who weren't on the list, so to speak, that had signed up to receive some groceries and things like that. And the whole entire day today when we were out there, I was contemplating in my head, am I really going to leave on Sunday? And I don't know the answer to that right now.
That's
because,
great, bro.
one
of my first
you guys, have been amazing since the day we met and way back when Max and I hosted that event. And I believe you guys came there way up the mountain and it was about raising money for the kids. And, it's weird because I don't participate in charity in America that much. But here, this city is just very electric and the people, are just different. And
it feels natural.
Yeah.
When you're giving it and you're doing it, it feels natural.
Yeah,
it's not like, I'm double thinking what I'm doing with this money or time. You know exactly where it's going.
No, I know where it's going. In Facebook the other day, some, asshole was, you're doing it for human admiration. And I'm like, man, and I'm just like, this is Facebook. It's like the Trump argument and black and white argument, all these arguments that are going on Facebook nowadays. And I'm like, bro, you don't even know me to talk about whether I'm doing this for human admiration or having affecting kids' lives. And, to that point, Celia, God bless her, bought 2 cases or 2 children from La Guajira to us one day and said, I found a surgeon who will donate their time, but we need the money for the surgery and whatnot. And one girl had cancer behind her eye and she needed a false eye and the whole process. And the other girl was born with her feet facing forward. She had never walked in her life. So for the equivalent of like 7 guys times $300 a piece, these 2 little girls, her lives have been changed forever. I came here a few Thanksgivings ago, and the girl had walked for the first time in her life before the...
You spent $2,100 to change a life.
I contributed to it,
Contributed,
for what people pay in a VIP in the city or, wherever for bottle service, you know what I mean? Or hell, a table in Vegas or, whatever, Miami, whatever it is. It's like... I walk in the orphanage and this girl walks now. The other one, it's like her personality went from like, being like, whoa, to, as soon as she sees me in the orphanage, it's like, Uncle Joe, and it's like, I don't even care whatever the cost is. There's no price you can put on that again. And, donating and continuously giving back at the orphanage. It's like, I go there. And I don't have any kids, but there I have 42 kids that, I participate in their lives in some way.
Actually, I wanted to ask Andrew the same question, and that's great because, we've talked about some stuff, but I never really asked Andrew exactly that question because, again, we together were supposed to go on a cruise in April and go and work and live and explore and, go get into some adventures. What do you think now for you? And we still are going to get out there. We still are going to adventure. By the way, we're going to be out there. We're going to be filming. We'll be doing different things. But has Medellin changed for you after, call it, both COVID and also the stuff we've been doing lately?
Well, I mean, yes, it has changed in respect to me wanting to get more serious with the volunteering and the charity process. Like we were talking with our accountant yesterday, I definitely want to set up some sort of organization. I know that can be timely, costly, and full of effort, but I think we need to do it.
Yeah.
I think it's something that I want to do. I've always had a dream since I was like a kid of having an orphanage. Obviously, maybe I won't have it. Having an orphanage and a dog rescue, like combining the two so that the kids have to help with the dogs and the dogs can get adopted. The kids could get adopted. The life lessons are learned from taking care of a living being to having to separate from them when they get adopted or you get adopted as a kid. I think that would be amazing. And I think that's the direction that I want to go towards as far as like trying to put something together. And it doesn't mean that we have to build it from scratch. It's like there's so many people in the city that are already doing it. Like Joe's been here for a while. He already has the contacts with the orphanage. Even if it's not that one, I've done Ángeles de Medellin, Antorchas de Vida. There's various ones that I've been an individual part of, or at least as a volunteer. But I think to answer your question, how it has changed my perspective is that people are gonna be fucking broke as shit with or without COVID. And it is a statistic here in Colombia, which is staggering, that more than like 40% of Colombians live under the minimum wage, which is basically you're living in poverty, because the minimum wage here is like $250 a month. So, and that's like 40%. It might even be more of the population. So that means that even if there is no pandemic, people are still in need. There are still kids that, you know, they're innocent. They don't have any way to get even better. And one thing that really stood out to me today and the day before when we went for the first time into Moravia, which is the neighborhood, which is one of the poorest neighborhoods in Medellin, is that we met Sol, which is the mom of, that they live in this shack. There's three of them, the mom, the daughter, and the dad, or not the dad, but the older son. The older son's 18, but when you talk to him and you get a feeling for him, it seems like you're talking to a 13-year-old. And it's probably because of lack of education, being shy, lack of exposure to obviously foreigners and or just people in general that are a different type of people from where they are in their neighborhood, which is impactful because I think we can help those people.
Yeah.
You know, like if you take an 18-year-old kid like that and help him, you know, to get an education or a trade, to associate or have him socialize with people outside of his circle, could open up their world and their mind to something bigger than they thought could have been possible. So to answer your question again, it has changed my perspective. I still want to travel. I still plan on going to Mexico and staying there for a while. But if I go to Mexico, those are the things that I'll look to do, you know, like find people that are, you know, where I can volunteer, what I can do. Because not only is it obviously socially great, but it's rewarding. You feel so good when you do it. You know, after you go and do it,
you feel like
you did
real,
something.
like you did something real, like you did something real.
You made a difference in someone's life. You know, whether it was a slice of pizza or a bag of food or whatever, you know, they have hope for that day or, you know, tomorrow or whatever. And, you know, that for me, that's what it's all about.
You know, I think it's been, I don't even know how long, like the first album that I put up was 3 weeks, maybe nearing a month ago already. Time's flying. I have no concept of time right now. And I feel like going to Moravia, because that's where we went first. And by the way, Moravia is built on an old garbage dump. Ooh. So the people that we went to today are basically at the edge of the garbage dump, more or less, that flows out onto the highway. And we can get into a few more stories and stuff so people can hear our firsthand perspectives. But here's the parallel I'm going to draw. For all of those of you who feel uncomfortable right now and feel like you need to do something, but you don't know what to do because of the George Floyd video, because you saw something that you've seen a lot of shocking shit online before. But if you watched, and I know a lot of people haven't watched the full 8 minutes, and if you haven't, I really suggest you press play on the 8-minute video of George Floyd and stick it out and then see where it takes you after. I think like what we saw in Moravia the first day compared to what we go back and sit on our nice couch and look at 65-inch screen TV and order out and stuff. I feel that going to Moravia, and that's what I am forever will be indebted to Julian, Laura, and Mariana. Those are the three people I'm going to call their names out here. Is giving me my own George Floyd experience in the city that I live in, because there's no unseeing what I saw in a George Floyd video, and there's no unseeing what I saw when I went to Moravia with them to give out bags and photograph. There is no going back. The world is not going to be the same. So that's what, for me, Medellin has been changed. Like, I will still party. I will still, do everything, but my life will definitely be a lot more balanced and grounded in other people, that ostracized people the world forgot in my own neighborhood.
Yes.
And hey, I'm going to say this right now to people, something my dad always told me, something that he read. He spoke to me growing up about this. Hey, think global, think big, but act local, act local. Don't try to change the problems in the United States. If you are an expat living in Medellin, look around you in Medellin. I mean, try changing in the US, but don't be criticizing what's happening over there if in the same place that you're using, right, for a better life, that you're not doing anything, because I have been guilty of that. I've used the system and I helped one or two people, but you can do a lot more. That's
Absolutely. I mean, today was my first experience, and I've been around different barrios here. It's funny that people always come and they're like, "Oh, I was in Medellin," and I'm like, "Where'd you go?" El Poblado. And I'm like, "You weren't in Medellin, bro." I've been around the city, but I've never really been
around
to an area where, we were today to really experience it firsthand. Maybe I drove by it, or whatever. And, as much food as we had today, I'm in, like, there's like, when we were out of food, I'm looking around, I'm like, here's this old guy, he's like 70 something years old. And I'm like, all right, if I pull out cash here, all hell's going to break loose. I'm like, but it was heartbreaking to just tell people, like, no, I don't have any more. Because in my mind, it's like when I'm by myself, I can't sleep because my mind's always going. And tonight is going to be a rough one because it's going to be all about what else can I do to make a difference here? And I'm super blessed by the people that, I tried to get some groups together, and then I'm like, people talk. There are a lot of people talk. I'm a man of action. I put together, originally I've done some graphic design in my time, put together a graphic, and next thing you know, like in 15 minutes, I got $700.
Yeah.
And God bless all of you who donated. I've raised nearly $2,500 to help out in various barrios and, dig into the organization. And, the common thing today that I felt was, here's a bunch of people, and obviously I've met you guys before, but some of the others, I've never met before in my life. And I'm like, man, I feel closer to some of these people that I've never met before than some people that I've known for 20 years, because here we are. There's nothing but a common goal to help the people. And the way that we can try to, I appreciate what you guys are doing, and I'd love to learn more about as you get through, because I just went and said, fuck it, here's my Venmo and my PayPal, send me the money. I don't even care about the tax or whatever, thank God. And I'm going to say, I wish somebody would have sent $5,000, but, if they did, I got to worry about the taxes, but I don't even care about that, because I'm like, the first thing is helping the people. And today, I mean, it's hard to put the experience into words, the things that we saw today. And
I could see the shock in your eyes for a minute.
Yeah.
I looked at you. I know you, Andrew. So I'm. By the way, I'm the.
I'm kind of callous to it because of the fact that we've been there before, and also I have, done charity and stuff in neighborhoods like that. So, but there were times where I had to step back and just watch everyone, you and our friend Gio as well, because he'd never been out there.
And he was into it.
Yeah,
he was super. He was great.
And I was looking, and I was like, they're now experiencing something. It's a what do you call it? A cathartic experience.
Yeah.
So to give some context to some of the people that may be watching or listening in the United States that have never been to Medellin and are wanting to come to Medellin, Medellin is a beautiful place. It's a great city.
Amazing.
It's pretty metropolitan for the most part, but it still holds a lot of the small town values. But literally, you could be in the Beverly Hills of Medellin, which is like El Poblado, Las Palmas, even parts of Envigado, which are very, very nice, even parts of Laureles that are very, very nice. And then just go 15 minutes on the metro, on an Uber, and you'll see some houses that make poor excuses for a house. It's not a house.
It's not a house. It's a shelter.
It's a shack.
It's a shelter.
It's a shack.
It's an urban tent.
Right.
Yeah,
It's an urban tent.
Yeah, that's
It
a
is.
good.
And it's basically what they call it here is
Tugurio.
What?
They call it here a tugurio. Like
tugurio.
like there's like casa, casita, choza, and then tugurio.
Okay.
Basically,
Tugurio?
Tugurio. And basically, what a tugurio is when there's not even floor, no nothing, just
Shelter.
if you want to call it the foundation, even if.
Yeah. So where these people have built their little house is not technically legal, but they call it invasion, like an invasion of a space, because there's so many people. Granted that in the place that we were at, I don't know if you knew this, a few years ago, Moravia burnt.
To the ground, yeah.
Burnt to the ground because they're all made out of wood and recycled things, aluminum pallets, whatever they could find, they build their house. All of that hillside burnt. And then the government made their I don't know if you saw the building, apartment building, going into the town, into the little neighborhood. There was an apartment building
across the street.
Yeah, so that's where all the old people that used to live there
now live there.
They put them there, and then so these people that are there now, it's like a brand new town has resurrected out of pure necessity. People that don't have a home, that saw the space to build the home. A lot of Venezuelans as well as Colombians in there.
A lot of recyclers, people that go around and pick the garbage up at the corner, filter through it, and take it to the little private recycling houses. They, from what we're told, the majority of people in that current building are actually recyclers.
Right.
That's what they do.
And that's just Moravia, because there are many other neighborhoods in the city that are just like that, if not worse, like Niquitao, even small town, like neighborhoods up in the hills. Even if you go to like Comuna 13, even though there's a lot of tourism in Comuna 13 and a lot of money that has flowed in through there, it's still very poor.
It doesn't make a dent.
Yeah,
You help a few people, so you can keep on helping.
And it's like today, when we left, I'm like, so we gave away 140 bags of food, and I'm like, I felt like we didn't do anything.
You didn't make a dent.
In the sense of, I'm like, there's thousands of these little barrios, and by barrios, I don't mean an entire neighborhood. I just mean a little section. Like the second place that we went to, it was almost like a little corridor.
Yeah, it was like a little section.
That it was well organized too. By the way, God bless whoever put that together. And I'm like, I was talking to my girl when we left, and I'm like, there's thousands of these here in this city of people that need, and the government, it turns their backs to these people because it's like, they're not in actual homes. Mm-hmm. They're in, let's call them shacks, shelters, tents, whatever the word is.
They don't have an address.
Yeah, they don't. You can't send a FedEx there. You can't send a letter there.
No Amazon.
No, there's no Amazon there. Although some people had terrible TVs. Home, but a big giant TV.
Or a big stereo, right? Like, a big TV.
Well,
big
they have
stereo.
to, you have to enjoy life a little.
Got a theory on that too, but we're gonna come to that. Actually, I want to just take a pause before we move on, because a lot of people were talking about we're doing this and we're helping families and whatever. So, yo soñé un sueño. I had a dream. What they were doing, and again, me and Andrew, Joe, we just joining in to help because we see genuine need. We didn't start this, right? So a lot of people going, you guys are so good. You guys, we're like, listen, the people that started this and are doing it, they're the good people. We're there because we know they're good people and we want to see them do better. We're not the good people. At least I don't feel like there's anything special about it, but I'm going to say something to people so you understand what it is that they do or we're doing. Here in Colombia, and I've posted on some of the albums that I've posted, in Medellin and around Colombia, there are people, you have to understand, there's a different level of poverty. And when they get so poor to the point that they cannot afford to eat, don't forget electricity and stuff. Like a lot of them, that's long gone. Some of them, the toilets, there's no plumbing, there's no nothing. So don't think of it as a regular home. Their shack, they can't afford to eat. Or their house, even if they have a house. And what they do here is they take red flags, red cloths, red T-shirts, and they tie it in the window, tie it on the door, tie it on their car, tie it whatever. That means
go out on the highway and wave
them down. That means they need to eat. They don't know how they're eating today. So they're asking. It's a plea for help. Nobody wants to go out and beg for food in the hot sun or hang things that can shame them. So they're doing it because they need it. So what these guys are doing and what they started to do was they would go to the neighborhood with the limited funds, their own funds to start off with, and they would look at like the red flags and stuff. And then they'd say, okay, let's go talk to these people and figure out what's going on. And then, they identify these houses that are like, borderline, I'm about to starve, whatever it is. And then they said, okay, we're going to go pack these little bags of food and essential house stuff, and we're going to drop it off to them because they need a lifeline right now. That's it, just a lifeline. They're not thinking about long-term foundations and all this type of stuff, right? So they keep doing that. And then what they figured out is as soon as their first little photos went up live, people from different neighborhoods are like, whoa, these people are helping. The government is not helping on this scale. No one's helping. So let's reach out. So community folks that have the internet or that have a conscience or want to help, and a lot of them, by the way, take care of animals and stuff in their little shack communities, reach out to Laura, Mariana, and Julian, and they say, hey, we got people starving out here. I need you guys to come check this out. So what they do then is they connect with that person, they go out there, they walk around, and firsthand, they go into, and now we go into these houses, and we're like, wow, these people need a lifeline. So we go away and we spend a week week right now is the turnaround. Hopefully it could be 2 days in the future. And then we're like, put these packages together and we go back into the neighborhood, and they were going back into the neighborhood and feeding these families. Now, before it could only be 30 families. It started at 1 family, 2 families, whatever. And so that's the foundation called, we're talking about legalizing or whatever, but that's basically it. Right now, I know, and there's a lot of people that will watch this and they're talking about, oh yeah, but we need sustainable this, sustainable that. We do. But right now people understand, because I had this discussion with my mother. I've had this discussion with other people in my family. I'm like, hey, you got to understand, all these people care about is tonight. Right?
Right now.
You got food.
It's not about tomorrow.
It's not about tomorrow. So we're going to deal with, I'm sure we can come back here in a couple of months when maybe COVID's done, maybe when people are eating properly, and we can talk about what's the next step, even though there's things in motion. But right now, people, to understand what we're talking about, is we're talking about putting food in people's hands so they can eat. Right.
I've got a question for Joe. So today we were in Moravia, and we were also in a neighborhood behind El Jardín Botánico, which is the botanical garden. And as we're talking, I'm sure Felipe will be putting images of today's shoot, because Joel shot pictures out there, so that you guys watching this episode recorded on YouTube know exactly what we're talking about. But can you think of anything that compares to what we saw today in your life in the United States?
Never. Not even close. And, maybe I've been in some bad neighborhoods in my day, but nothing like I saw today. I mean, especially when we were done handing out the food, and you called me and I ventured out, down that corridor, and, as I'm going through the corridor carrying the diapers, I'm like, what am I going to find on the other side of this corridor?
Yeah. You don't know where you're getting into.
Because I saw your photos, and I knew that's where I was headed. And I got there, and Andrew, and both of you guys, but God bless, and again, it's not about what we're doing. If people don't donate and help out, it's like, my pocket's only so deep. All of our pockets are only so deep. But as I climbed into this unique structure of, I want to say, junk.
Mm-hmm. It is junk.
It is.
I don't, a random material. Ladder, a pallet, this and that, and
a toilet in the living room.
And the funny thing is, in this COVID, Corona, whatever, and God bless, my ex-girlfriend's mother just passed the other day, and, it's real, and I try not to make jokes about it, but I never thought once when I climbed into that house of like, oh my God, there could be somebody sick in here. I was just like, all right, I'm here because someone in here needs help. We climb through, and, you end up on the second floor, talking to the woman, and I'm just like mesmerized by the whole experience, because I'm really kind of taking it in, going like, I spent some time in Buenos Aires here in my girl's house, and, I ended up there late one night, and, she's like, what are you going to do? And she was kind of like a little overwhelmed of, I've always wanted you to come here, but, I never dreamed, that you would actually make it. you know, and I sleep in this humble home, nicer than, you know, where we were today. And I wake up, you know, and the chickens are going in the neighborhood, you know, and I'm walking out with her brother in the morning. I fly home and I walk in my house that night, and I live in New Jersey in a beautiful, you know, 3-bedroom home. And I'm like, I sat in the front door with my bags and I just looked around the house for 15 minutes going like, holy shit, how fortunate am I to be able to, you know, just turn on running water, open up the refrigerator. But, you know, the one thing that I find, and this is kind of like, you know, people always like, why do you go back to Medellin? How come you can go anywhere you want? You can go to Peru, you can go here, you can go there. Why do you keep on going back there? The thing that has really taught me gratitude here for my life. In the United States, we have everything. You know, 2 cars, you know, beautiful home, 55 pairs of shoes, jeans out of the ass, and, you know, whatever else, flowered shirts, 15 of those.
15 of those for sure.
Yeah. And you have everything, and people are unhappy because they just want more.
Yeah.
And today really taught me a lesson, and the couple that kind of arranged in Moravia, you know, I spent a little time chatting with them afterwards, and I was just like, man, these fucking people are happier than most of the people I know in the United States that have everything. And these people are just worried about their next meal. They don't give a fuck about shoes and, you know, the next PlayStation or Netflix or whatever the fuck it is. They're worried about, I need another meal for my family, and I'm not sure where it's coming from, but I'm not bitching and complaining about it.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is Medellin in a nutshell. And the people here just have an amazing vibrance, and it's why I will endlessly come back here and try to do everything I can to help out. That is my why.
Why do you think, Joe, it's an important message to put out in public?
These people are forgotten. You know, in the United States, you see people on the streets that are homeless or whatever, you know, and fucking you two and Max. You know, remember the guy who was with, I think I want to say I bought him shoes, and you saw them, you know, picking through the garbage.
Yeah.
You know, in the United States, people see that stuff, and, you know, I'm not an expert in the homeless or whatever, but most people just go, oh, it's like the homeless guy, like, fuck him, here's $1, bro, get away, you know. You saw it happening here and actually went over and engaged with a family a year or 2 years ago, whatever it was, got to know this family, you know, dug in, and, you know, you're posting about it. And next thing you know, I'm like, Max, I'm like, I want to buy those kids Nikes or whatever, because I'm like, fuck, I look in my closet and I'm like, I got like 9 pairs of Shocks in every fucking color known to man. And, you know, what good is that? You know, does that make someone happy? I'm like, you know, seeing what you guys did and, you know, the homeless population, so to speak, and really engaging with that. And, you know, Max also works with a group of friends and stuff, and they identify someone that, you know, doesn't have shoes. And it's like, hey, man, let me get to know you a little bit, find out about what your story is. And that's the one thing in Medellin that absolutely blows me away, is people just engaging with people that other people walk and go like, ooh, let's stay away from them, you know. Walking through the city with my girl, you know, she'll see someone and she'll, you know, tug on my shirt and be like, you know, can you give that person some money, you know? And man, when I'm here, I'm like, you know, you'd think I'm, fuck, man, I don't want to say Donald Trump, but, you know, that I'm rich, you know, and in the sense of compared to them, I am.
But you
know?
are.
But trying to make a difference in, you know, whatever it is here, you know, again, that stuff for me is, you know, everybody, I go home and people are like, oh, bro, you're so awesome. You have a big heart and all that shit. And I'm just like, I'm none of those things. I'm just trying to do this because it's coming naturally and trying to make a difference in these people's lives.
Yeah. And for those of you that are in Medellin and watching this live or the recorded version, this week, Barrita Burrito, which is on Rappi, and they have their own website, barritaburrito.com. They've teamed up with the organization that we help, which is Yo Soñé un Sueño. So for every combo that you buy, burrito combo or whatever combo that you get, you are able to, they donate a burrito to a homeless person. So they're feeding the homeless. And I think on Wednesday, we're going to start helping to give those out in the street. That just started 2 days ago. So if you are in Medellin, make sure to order your burrito from Barrita Burrito, and you'll be donating a burrito to a homeless person, which I think is a pretty awesome initiative on their part. I guess moving forward, in regards to your life here in Medellin, like I know you're from New Jersey, right?
Right.
You're from New Jersey. You've been in Medellin. You've experienced it. And I'm sure many people in the United States want to come and experience Medellin, but maybe they don't. They might have the same cathartic experience that you did, life-changing experience, where it went from coming here to visit, and maybe some people come out here just to party, or they come out because it's a bachelor party, or because it's cheap and there are cheap women, there are drugs, there's alcohol, there's sex. It's like Las Vegas, basically.
Cheaper.
But cheaper, without as many hotels or foreigners either.
I hate Vegas.
Yeah, but you know, some people might come and their perspective might change when they get here, and maybe they're in El Poblado and they party, and then one day they decide to go up to El Metrocable and they have to go through Santo Domingo. And maybe their whole perspective on life will change. You, Joe, for your future here in Medellin, what is it? What does that look like?
You know, I'm supposed to leave next Sunday, the 14th. And as I said earlier, I'm really contemplating the idea of whether I'm going to leave or not. You know, my parents are, you know, they're old school and they don't really get it. You know, my father never understood. Where are you going? Metal? What? Where?
Medellin?
You know, and then next thing you know, Colombian neighbors moved in next door, and he's like, "Holy shit, my neighbor! You're where my neighbor lived." Yeah. And you know, so it's become a different thing. But you know, my future in Medellin. You know, the biggest thing that when I come here, as I said, I've changed it's hard to leave. You know, I land in the United States, and next thing you know, it's like you're on the airplane, everybody's pushing to get out of the plane, and I'm like, fuck me. I'm like, nah, I'm home, you know?
Joe, nobody pushes.
And it's...
Let's be real. No one pushes. No one pushes Joe.
Try to push him
Yeah, we
today.
saw that. The guy nearly
The
lost
guy's
his
like,
life.
he was moving like this, trying to move Joe.
Yeah. His legs are just sliding in the dirt. He's not moving it. Nobody.
So
pushes
yeah,
him.
you were saying.
You know, so, I mean, honestly, you know, it's like I watched your last podcast, you know, with Brad, and who was also a great donator and thank you, Brad, if you're watching this, to the orphanage and donating food and stuff for them. Is, you know, as I'm thinking here, I'm like, I've come and I've stayed in a Casa Cole property now for 4 months, and I'm like, man, I'd love to have a place here because I could just come and go as I please and leave here and close. And my God, if I had that, you know, I'd probably never leave. You know, I'm blessed that in the sense of I don't have any kids. I can pick up and do whatever I want. And, you know, it's kind of weird that one of the reasons I want to go home is I have a dog. I've left him for 5 months with a family or, you know, a friend. And now I'm like, this poor dog thinks that I'm dead, you know? I'm like, so, you know, and I hear dogs don't, you know a sense of time, but I want to literally go home for that. Otherwise, you know, it's like, when am I coming back? You know, I was having this conversation the other day, and I'm like, I don't know, when is the border open? You know, I kind of have to go home too, in the sense, at least by September, as this plays in my mind right now, because my passport expires in September, so I have to get a new one. But I'm like, shit, man, my sister, God bless her, just sent me a FedEx package. So I'm like, proving little things that normally I'm not sure if I'd be able to do. Now I can do them. You can get Amazon here. Not that I need Amazon every day in my life, but I can get a shipment here.
Right.
You know, God bless, I met Juan Carlos, and him and his wife have been a great reference in the city. A friend of mine owns a brand of sports nutrition, like leggings and stuff. And I came across a company here because manufacturing in China right now is a disaster. And I'm like, I am blessed as a consultant and a human being to be able to make money in the United States, but live in Medellin. And when I say live, it's funny, I changed my Facebook page to I moved.
You moved.
You know? And I got a lot of
likes.
comments.
Yeah, you got some likes
you know
and
what I
comments,
mean?
yeah.
Out of that, being like, dude, when did you just fucking leave? And I'm, you know, I didn't go through the process of telling them. But for those of you watching that know me, I just proved that I can disappear for 4 months and be able to function, be able to communicate, and be able to pull off all those things that, what does my future lie here? Again, I have family in New Jersey. God bless. Both of my parents are still alive. My sister, but other than that, I can pick up and leave in a heartbeat. So, as I thought about, my mind is racing during your last podcast with Brad going like, okay, it's hard to get a bank loan here. You can rent and, for the prices that you can pay here. And it depends. Do you want to live in a place that's $3,000 a month in Las Palmas with the best view in the city? Or do you want to live in, a little bit lesser of, maybe a barrio and pay $400 or $500 a month?
Right.
It really depends upon what you want. And, the thing that keeps drawing me back here again is the people and, people like you guys and people like Juan Carlos. And I say this, it's like whether you meet them through Uber or through Facebook or whatever, I'm like, what are the odds of meeting someone in the United States and having them not know you and bend over backwards for you, really going the extra mile to help you? I'm American. I was born there, land of opportunity, greatest country in the world, all that stuff. Is that stuff happening there? I'm not really 100% sure, but I can tell you in the 4.5 years that I've been coming here, it's happened to me here a ton of times. People that talk about, I got robbed, this happened. I can knock on wood, however you want to call it. I've never had a bad experience here. I've never been robbed. I've never had a taxi cab driver take me for an extra peso, any of those things. And for that reason, and the energy here in the city and the people, that's one of the reasons why I really see myself having a future here, whether it's, in the next year or 5 years or whatever it is. I certainly am excited to get back in here and dig in with what you guys are doing. The other day you were saying something about, getting a crew and having a crew on hand to be able to identify a home and be able to go in there with an electrician and a roofer and knock it out in a day or a weekend or whatever. And I'm just like, now that is an idea. And here, there are a lot of, let's call them day laborers who could, maybe not necessarily have the construction job, but be able to be a reliable person when you need them to call upon and go in and flip someone's home.
And one thing I just want to add to that for those of you listening, what we mean by that is, for example, our friend Don Lee, who's also given and he continues to give, he said that when I told him the same idea I told you, he said that he has a carpenter that's been working with them because they're doing a reno, and it costs his mano de obra, which is just your the labor cost. If we provide the materials and whatever, is 100,000 pesos a day, which is just under maybe $30, $28 a day. So you can pay, like, literally, if you guys, like, if somebody, not you guys, anybody, we got call it $100 from.
Yeah.
Right. You're talking about nearly 3 days pay that somebody can work on a roof and whatever. So that's where it makes sense here. People might, it's not that we're raising any sort of crazy funds.
Sure.
What you could do with a little bit here stretches a big way.
Goes a long way. Absolutely.